Today, I want to talk about something very interesting and something very less spoken about, and that is about our dark sides. Now, if you think about any superhero, Spider Man, Batman, Superman, every superhero always has a darker version, a dark side. Spider Man had the black Spider Man, Superman has the Injustice Superman, Wolverine has the old man Logan. Every superhero always has a darker version, a dark side. And interestingly, all of us also have our own dark sides, you, me, and all of us. Now, what do you mean by dark side? Now, all of us as individuals have our unique talents, our unique gifts, our strengths, our values, our belief systems. But sometimes these become too strong, they become too dominating, and then they start impacting you negatively. And not just you, they start impacting even the people around you negatively. And that is what I mean by the dark side. And this happens very unconsciously. You sort of cross over a tipping point. Till a point in time, your strengths, your values are responsible for your success and your growth. But beyond a certain point, they start impacting you negatively. And the interesting thing is, this happens unconsciously, so you're not even aware of it. It's like a blind spot for you. So let me give you some examples. For example, let's say you value hard work a lot, which is a great thing, right? And hard work is the reason for your success. But beyond a certain point, hard work also has a dark side. For example, you may be all the time pushing yourself. You may be working too hard, which means that you are ignoring your own well-being, you are ignoring your own self-care, and you may be heading towards a burnout, and you may not be aware of it. Sometimes you may be confusing hard work with smart work, because there are certain situations where you don't need to necessarily work hard. There can be a smarter way to work around. Sometimes you would expect people around you to work equally hard because you value hard work a lot. And that does not mean everybody around you will value hard work equally, but that means that you end up setting unrealistic expectations, unrealistic targets on your team and your team members, and which creates a lot of friction between you and your team members. So there's a dark side to hard work. Another example, let's say you're a very creative person, which is again a great thing to have. But when you're too creative, there's a dark side to it as well. When you're thinking of too many ideas, too many out of box thinking ideas, then sometimes you may lose focus because there's a lot of out of box thinking happening, but there's not a focus on a single idea to execute. Sometimes it could happen that that your teams are bringing ideas to you, but because you are a very creative person and their ideas don't meet your creativity standards, you may reject their ideas. Creativity also needs time and space, and sometimes when the situation is very time bound, you may struggle to make decisions because you need more time and space to think creatively. Another great example is that some of the situations the answer is very simple and it's right out there, but because you're so used to thinking out of the box, sometimes you miss the obvious. So you see, there's a dark side of creativity as well. So like that, your strengths, your values beyond a certain point are always having a dark side to it. Now the same concept is also applicable at an organization level. So for it's applicable at your culture, at your values, right? So sometimes your values at an organization level can become too strong, and that could have a detrimental impact on the organization, on the people. So, for example, let's say your culture is a customer first culture, a customer centric culture, which is obviously a great thing to have for business. But if it becomes too strong, uh, too dominant, then what might happen, right? Your employees may feel that customer first, employees second. The company does not care about me. Employees may feel ignored, which means that they may feel disengaged, dissatisfied. That may impact their morale, their motivation level, and eventually they may leave the company. Right now, you may not be doing it intentionally, but it might be happening because there's a strong customer first culture, and employees end up feeling customer first, employees second. Another example is that as an organization, you may have a continuous learning culture, again, which is a great thing to have. But if there is too much focus on continuous learning, there is a dark side to it. Now, what is the dark side to it? Sometimes there is just too much focus on learning, and there is very little focus on providing time and opportunity to apply and practice. So there's a lot of learning happening, but there's less application happening, which means that nothing much changes on the ground because no new skills are built, no new behaviors or habits are developed. It may also create sometimes a very unhealthy competition between employees because everybody's focused on just continuous learning. So it's like who clocks the maximum number of hours in the LMS, or who does the maximum number of trainings. So it creates like a learning race. So that is also a dark side of a learning culture. So as you see, whether you are an individual, as a leader, as an organization, our strengths, our values, they always have a darker side beyond a certain point. Now the key thing is, are you aware of it or not? And most of the cases, we are not aware of it. It's like a blind spot either as an individual or as an organization. So what can you do about it? The first thing obviously is to be aware that there is a dark side to everything, right? Beyond a certain point, and be aware of the impact it could have on you, on the people around you, on your organization. So awareness becomes the first step. And how do you create awareness? Awareness you can create by collecting feedback from people around you, right? If you are an individual as a leader, you can seek feedback from people around you, your team members, and they can tell you what's really happening. You can also, examine some of the recent situations, communication, team meetings which have happened, especially where things have not gone that well, and see what role you had played, and maybe some of that can give you clues that some of your strengths or values are now having a negative impact. So seeking feedback, self reflection is a good way to understand the dark side of your strengths or your values. At an organization level, you can actually seek feedback from employees through surveys, through focus group discussions, especially trying to find out what is not working in your culture. A lot of time organizations try to collect evidence of what is working, but really this is more about what is not working, and that can give you a good sense of which of the values are becoming not too strong and having a detrimental impact. So the first level is always about having that awareness at an individual level or at an organization level. And once you have that awareness, then you can do something about it. Because if you don't even know this is happening, then there's nothing much you can do. But once you are aware that there's a dark side to it, and it probably is already happening in some form or shape, then you have a choice to do something about it. So hope you find this insight around finding a dark side useful. So I invite all of you to go back and reflect. Do you know the dark side of your strengths, your values as an individual, as a leader? Do you know the dark side of your culture? And if you don't know, maybe you and I should have a discussion and maybe and see what comes out of that. So go back and reflect on that, and do share your feedback and comments. And till then, I wish you all safe health, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the other side.